girl, you are so pretty, 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 pretty. Baby girl, you are so pretty, 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 pretty. Females might you just to trick me, trick me, trick me, trick me. Cause baby girl, you are so easily pretty. The only reason that I can do tonight is cause I know you were invited. The only reason that this dress is skin tight is cause I thought that you would like it. I'm only come for this.
Welcome to Jessica Javens Talk. I am so excited because today I have somebody who I met many times before, but I keep opening up this Pandora box. And this is what's incredible about us, is that we have so much within us, and sometimes we just haven't tapped into it yet. So I would love for you to keep watching so you can understand how this Pandora box can happen, not only on my guest's life, but also on your life. I would like to welcome Omar Hasan. Did I say that right?
You did say it right.
Thank you. Welcome, and thank you so much for being here today.
No problem.
I really appreciate it. You have so much to say and so much experience that it's difficult for me as a host to know where to start. So let's start like this. I think I was impressed by the fact that you came from a very structured background by starting in the military, and then how that developed into something else, like completely different. You're not working necessarily for a regiment, something very structured and a dream of somebody else or even a country. You created your own dream. So let's start with that. How did it come about where you started to work in the military? How did that happen? How did that start?
So my work in the military, again, I was out of high school. I kind of always knew I wanted to do something. You know what I mean? Growing up in Flint, Michigan, where I'm from, is, you know, kind of rough area. I kind of got ran out of Flint, messing with the wrong crowds, and I decided to go in the military and to get away. So when I was there, I kind of looked for stuff that I could kind of do that I enjoy doing. And so I used to run for the military. So when I say that, we would do ship-to-ship competitions, and I always been a runner, a distance runner, and we just did that. You know, I would say it's my job, but it kind of was my job for 2.5 years, was just running for my ship against other ships and training. So it was pretty cool. And then I did that for 2.5 years. So my whole enlistment was only 2 years active, 6 years reserve. So I got done with that, went to college, and a recruiter came to me and said, "You ever thought about being in the Navy?" And I'm like, "Oh, I've been there, done that." They said, "You ever thought about being an officer?" And I thought, you know, officers at the time were seen as, you know, all, you know, big and mighty, and they ran things, and I thought, that could be kind of cool.
Okay, before you continue, how did you see this as an opportunity, or even how did this just come knocking at your door? Why?
The military or the officer program?
The officer program?
So, I mean, just a matter of the military in general. This is back in the 90s, you know, like 95, 96. And back then, you know, the military was really recruiting. You know, this is after, if you remember, it was Desert Storm, Desert Shield. We were in war situations, so they were recruiting heavily. So when they came in and they offered the Army would offer all kind of incentives, but I was in the Navy, and they offered, you know, we'll pay for your college, we'll do all this stuff, you'll get your salary the whole time you're in college. So it was pretty good incentives to join and still finish your degree and still kind of get out and I guess be more.
Right. Now, you had gone to the military already in different capacities.
Right.
And then you went to college. What did you get a degree on?
My first degree, and they sent me to school twice. My first degree was electrical engineering.
Okay, so with electrical engineering, how does that come together with this proposal? Maybe you had other dreams at this point. Did you? And how did that work?
So with electrical engineering, so there was a commitment. So after, you know, they paid for me to go to school, but after I finished school, I owed a 4-year commitment to you know, be all I could be. You know what I mean? So I had to go in and serve. And again, it was during wartime, so this is when we're dealing with Iraq, Afghanistan, and all that whatnot. So, you know, it was a work up to that. So there's payback. You know, they pay you a salary, and they also pay you, you know, you're getting time count towards your retirement. But at the end of the day, and bonuses, but they want you to serve. So I had to serve.
Okay, so when you made that decision, does that entitle you to leave again your home?
It does. I mean, you're forced to leave your home.
Okay, but you were back home now.
So in college, I was back home, right? So I went to University of Texas. So again, that whole 4 years I'm in Texas, from for all intents and purposes, I'm a civilian. I'm partying, I'm hanging out, I'm joining fraternities, I'm doing the whole nine.
Right.
But I know that after the 4 years, I'm going deployed somewhere. So then you're serving in the capacity of the military.
How does that affect your relationships?
It depends. You know what I mean? Yeah, if you're married, which at the time I think I was engaged. I think again they go with you. You know what I mean? In terms of your family, there's scared, or there's people scared there about the war and you going away. I think that whole stigma of the military and what people don't know is always a big question mark and a big cloud. But I think people oh I pray for you and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, you're kind of forced to go and change your life to a point.
Emotionally, looking back to where you are right now, are you in peace with that decision and how that changed? Because that can change your life completely with your family, your future, maybe the project that you had for your family. How did that play with you? How do you feel today after making that decision?
I think it was a good decision. I mean, I look back at it, and today I even have young people come to me who know I've done 24 years in the military and ask us if it's a good move or not. And I think it matures you. It does kind of get those brain cells going in terms of what can I do beyond this. You already know you're gonna more than likely you're gonna retire out or get out of the military. What are you gonna do after that? So I think it kind of gets those cells moving and going and saying, okay, you know what? I know I had this thing to do, but when I finish, what I'm gonna do next.
You mentioned that before.
Mhm.
It's almost like you were always thinking about that.
I think so.
Yeah, and it's almost like you were always envisioning something. Is that something that you think that you were born that way, or did you have people influencing you to have that mindset to always think ahead and doing your best right now, which you did, and you were successful at each one of those steps, but you were always thinking ahead at the same time, which is bringing you to where you are today, which we're going to be there in just a moment. Where do you think that came from?
It's a good question. I mean, I think of that. People are like, man, you have such drive on doing this and that, and where did that come from? I think I'd be a fool to say the military had nothing to do with that. I think it does because again, as a leader of men and women, I think you kind of looking out to the future and what they're going to be doing with their lives because you're mentoring them. You know what I mean? You're talking about, hey, what are you doing after the military? So it's hard to mentor them without thinking about yourself as well. You know what I mean? So I mean, I always say the best mentor is somebody who's been mentored themselves. You know what I mean? So you kind of think about my life as well when I'm telling them what to do with their lives or what they should, or giving them options on what they could do with their lives. So I think the military definitely had a good hold on me making decisions on the future.
That's good to know. I think a lot of people might be at that age today where you were at that moment, maybe scared or concerned, but how that brought you to some ground and some resilience and some focus and planning. Now, tell me a little bit about after you got your degree, you went into another level with the military that you hadn't experienced before. You were just starting to tell me, and I was like, "What did you do?" And I want you to share this because I think a lot of people might not know that you can work in this dynamic and how that helped you to grow as a person.
Yeah, so I was a Civil Engineer Corps officer. So we're the officers in charge of the CBs. So the CBs are a construction battalion. So I mean, the whole premise of it is, uh, construction battalion is we do construction, we build, we fight. So at the end of the day, again, in a war situation, we take a footprint somewhere and we're building, a base. We're building, bridges. We're the forward operating to allow that other troops to come in and live there. So again, in order to, if you think about a war situation and you're fighting the enemy over here, there has to be somebody that gets there first and builds everything that you need to have. You got to have a DFAC. You got to have a galley to eat from. You got to have somewhere to sleep. You got to have latrines to use a bathroom at, showers. All that stuff has to be built. So again, it's not like in a war situation you're saying, "Hey, pause. Let us build this first." And that's not how it happens. You're getting out there and you're taking a position and you're fighting what these other guys at nighttime are building. So you build, we fight. We fight, you build. It's like that.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
I feel so ignorant right now. I'm like, oh my God, really? I thought like building or rebuilding only started after the war was done.
No, No,
This is crazy. So you guys have to do both in a way.
you have to.
And oh my gosh,
Yeah.
how did that affect you?
I mean, there's times, again, I've been to Afghanistan and been in situations where, someone's trying to kill you and you're shooting back and there's bombs going off and there's that stuff going on and it becomes, you almost get immune to it. I think to a point, once you're in it so long, you kind of just, it becomes your day to day. You know what I mean? Maybe the first month you're kind of like, oh my goodness, and you're freaking out. By the second, third month you're over there, you're like, okay. You know what I mean? It's just you dig in and you make it happen.
That's crazy. So,
Yeah.
how long were you in this capacity? And as far as the Army is concerned, in all of those different levels, how long were you there in total?
So I did 24 years in the Navy in general, all my time. But I mean, I think did a year in Afghanistan. I was in Shield, Desert Storm. I did 6 months over there. I've been to Iraq. So I've been to a couple places. And then I've also been to some places where there wasn't war going on, but we go to train. So I've been to places like Diego Garcia, which is like a small island. The whole island is right off the equator. It's kind of, we would go into Singapore and then take a helicopter over to Diego. The whole island is like tip to tip, 12 miles long. So right in the middle of the ocean, you got this little island, and we would sit there and we would train, and again. So if war is not going on, you're still training in preparation for war. So we would do stuff like that.
That's very intense.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting time.
And you see that it's like what? Okay, how? I maybe I'm wrong, but the reading that I have from you, the energy that I feel is that you don't carry trauma with you.
Yeah.
What would you say about that?
I think anybody who served in a capacity like that carries some with them. I think it depends on how you carry it. You know what I mean? I think PTSD is real. I think you don't realize the impact that has on your life until you're in a situation and you realize, like, I don't do crowds. Like you would never see me in a crowded location just because I've been in crowded locations and things have happened. So now by choice I don't go to crowds. So I'll never be in a concert. I'll never do this, and that just becomes your norm. You know what I mean? In a restaurant, I'm always going to sit looking towards the door because you never know what's going on at the door. So there's things that just get embedded into your DNA just from years and years of something happening. And then you notice that again. Some people are affected other ways, and then
True.
some people are just really, they just, really take it hard, and some people just find a way to cope with it.
What do you think that helped you to cope with it?
I think just my personality. I've always been somebody that I feel like I can change what I can change, and then what I can't, I can't. You know what I mean? So I take that to heart. So
Grounded.
I think it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, I'll adapt to this, and then once I do, it's just what it is. You know what I mean? I try not to harp on it.
That's a wonderful thing. Now, out of this career that could have been completely something else out of it, there was something that you started building for yourself. Actually, maybe started at the time that you were going to military, but it developed into something that where you were able to be today. So tell us about your whole entrepreneurship and real estate and investor career that came about during and after this huge, impactful life that you had with the military.
So while I was serving, I started when I was in college. So before the military, I started buying houses. I bought my first house. I think I was like 19.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I was. We were the youngest. I was married at the time. We were the youngest couple on the street, and we bought our first place. And people were always like, "Oh man, you're so young." And I think it was just a good time, and I enjoyed the the ownership. I didn't know I was really an entrepreneur at the time, but I knew I liked home ownership. And I think when time came for me to sell that house, when I was going into the military, I decided to rent it out. I decided to rent it out, and that kind of sparked that entrepreneur spirit. And I was like, you know what, I can get another couple rental houses and rent those out. So then I would go to another location with the military, and then instead of using because they pay you housing pay. So instead of using my housing pay to rent something, I would just buy something.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah, so then I would buy something, and then when I
Did you have peers that were doing that too?
I mean, I had some people that were doing that too.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not that unusual. but I would keep buying stuff and then keep renting it out. I lived in Hawaii, and I bought in Hawaii and rented it out. I had in California, San Diego. So I've been in some nice places, but each time I would buy and rent it out. So at the time, I had a nice amount of houses that I owned in different parts of the country that I was renting out. This is kind of before Airbnb was big. I was just doing kind of long-term rentals, and
And most of the time that I think about renting homes, I'm thinking like I need to have control over this, so I'm gonna buy properties near where I live so
Yeah.
I can control it. You were
Yeah.
doing it in way different areas.
I was,
How did you?
you can hire property managers, and I did sometime, but other times I just managed it myself. Good relationships. You kind of really screen the people you get in there. You try to, a lot of times you rent to other military people who don't want to buy. You know what I mean? So
I see.
yeah, so you rent to them, and then again, they can set up allotments, so you're paid automatically. So it's kind of goes cruise control. You can set up home warranty, so that any kind of repairs, it becomes a business. Repairs are done without you being there. The money is paid through allotments without you,
Wow.
worried about it. So it becomes a
And
business.
hold on, Omar, you
Mhm.
did this before Google?
Was Google out? This is
Was
back in
it
the
big-
'90s, so
Okay, yeah, that
yeah.
was a little bit. We were not Googling stuff at that time.
Right.
We had
yeah.
Yahoo, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
So how did you get to like?
I don't know. I just kind of did. I eventually did that, and it became at one point once you get a large number of houses, becomes too much for one person to deal with, and I started going into commercial. That's when I think around maybe 2000, maybe 2000, 2001, I started looking at strip malls because I was like, man, these strip malls are,
It's
again,
multiple commercial in a way.
yeah, exactly. I started with like 3-unit strip malls, which were really cheap at the time. You can get a 3-unit strip mall at the time for like $100,000.
Wow.
Yeah, and then you got 3 tenants, usually long-term tenants, paying you rent. On one location.
You
You're
make
like,
it quick.
"Man, yeah, the money made back quick." So then I went from 3 to 4 to 7. So then I started looking at larger and larger ones, and then you could, leverage this one to buy another one, and it was. Then I started selling houses to buy another one, and then I got totally outside of I kind of got rid of the residential and did 100% commercial.
That's what I keep hearing, Omar.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
to go with the commercial.
Yeah, it was easy.
Wow. Were you ever scared during this whole process?
No, I'm not thinking.
That's amazing. Okay, you tell me the secret sauce. How are you not scared?
Yeah, I just never did. I just kind of, things happen. Don't get me wrong. I can remember, for most part, things just kind of work out. If they're supposed to work out, you got to kind of believe in God and believe in a higher being and believe that things that are meant to happen happen. I can remember during COVID, going to all my tenants. I was living in Atlanta. I went to all my tenants, and we were going to give them time off. Time without paying. Like, hey, you know what? COVID's going on. Everybody's doing. I'm gonna give you 3 months, with no rent. You know what I mean? Just kind of, to make sure they didn't lose their business and they still would stay there, and they had been good tenants to that point. And surprisingly, a lot of people were like, no, that's okay.
Wow.
They're like, we doing okay. Some people took it. Don't get me wrong. There were
Of
some people that
course.
were like,
Yeah.
thank you. But there was a lot of people who were like, no, hey, everyone's in this boat together, and we're still doing fine, and no, we're gonna pay.
So you didn't completely break during the pandemic
I didn't know
because you had solid locations. You know,
Yeah.
at the pandemic not being everything shut down, it was like,
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
yeah.
How are you feeling during that time? Because there's no certainty. When are we going to go back? When there's
Yeah.
zero predictions.
It
How do
is.
you deal with that?
Yeah, exactly. You just, again, I think it's just believing in a higher being. You kind of just, today it's not that much different. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world, period.
True.
Yeah, so COVID was different. Now is other things is going on political, and you just don't know what's going to happen. But you kind of gotta, do what you can, believe in a higher power, and see what happens.
Okay, so believing in the higher power, I'm with you 100%. But a lot of people don't know what that means in practical.
Yeah.
Practically, what do you do to feed your mind and your soul with this endurance that no matter what, you're moving forward and believing in yourself and the power of you creating all of this, all of these businesses and investments, and no matter how the market goes up and down, you're not really allowing the circumstances or situations and conditions around you to break you.
Yeah.
In 2008, when the whole market crashed,
Mm-hmm.
many men were losing, literally wanting to kill themselves.
They were, yeah.
So it can be
Yeah.
extreme. So how in practical ways for people who are not where you are, because you're
Yeah.
there, you feeling it, you're doing it, you've been
Yeah.
doing it for a long time, you proved yourself over and over again.
Right.
So you're stronger today probably than you ever were. What would you suggest to people?
That's a good question. You know, it's got to be that inner strength. You know, it's got to be something inside you that says, I can survive. You know what I mean? I can do it. You know, again, wherever you get that from, but it has to be something. Some people look at their kids and let me be strong for my kids. Some people look at, you know, their church. Some people look at their parents. Some people look at, it's got to be something that makes you, you know, just really want to strive to make it. I mean, there's opportunities out there, period. You mentioned 2008. I have friends of mine who bought $1 million homes for 200 grand, you know what I mean, back in 2008, and now they're, you know, they're back worth millions of dollars, and they got them for a steal. But again, they were just looking for opportunities, you know what I mean. They had that nest egg, you know, and part of that is just, you know, I always say, you know, I travel a lot and I vacation a lot and I do a lot, but I say again, you have to live for today, but also understand that tomorrow's coming. You know what I mean? Understand that, you know, you can't spend it all. You can't, you know, everybody might want that Ferrari or Lamborghini, but it's like, do you really need it? You know what I mean? So plan for, you know, plan for the future.
And you came to the core there is for you not to be all over the place with what you want,
Yeah.
but truly, I think finding out what you really want and sticking to that is more important, because or else you're all over the place, and then you're gonna lose the focus. You're gonna lose maybe the money that you probably could create an opportunity into something that is really not really what you wanted, like maybe a fancy car or whatever it is. That's your example.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's very important, is to have that clear. And I have the impression from you that you were always thinking about that future. So you were always kind of focused into that. So you never lost track with whatever was going on today, because you knew that was going to change.
Mm-hmm. That's
Did I say that right?
true. You did. Yep. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's a very powerful message, because today more than ever before, the amount of distraction and misinformation, because things spread before they're even checked. You know what I'm talking about?
Right.
People go on something that they don't even spend enough time or too much time really getting to know what they're getting into.
Mm-hmm.
And because everything is small, is fast food, is here and go, is just a reel, is just a piece of information, just a headline, and they go making decisions based on that. Is not really tangible.
True.
So that doesn't substitute the need for you to do your due diligence.
True.
How do you do your due diligence today when you're thinking about doing a business, or acquiring a business, or doing a new construction, whatever it is that you're into? Because I know
Yeah.
you're into something today too.
Yeah.
So tell me, what is your
Yeah.
strategy?
You know, just research. Yeah, funny you say that, because I'm building some houses now that are, and it's new for me, because again, I've hired people to build houses for me in the past, but now I'm more hands-on. So you know, again, try not to make mistakes in this in terms of you know, hiring the right contractor, understanding what has to happen in terms of timing and things like that. You know, again, is talking to people, not being scared to ask questions. Yeah, that's the main thing. It's also, you know, doing your research. You know what I mean? Understanding that you don't know what you don't know, but then you can learn it. So I'm constantly, you know, looking at, you know, before I got here, I just came from sitting with the guy doing all the electric for the building, and I'm like, hey, tell me about what you're doing. Tell me about this. Tell me about that. You know, even though
Being curious.
Yeah, being curious. I'm an electrical engineer, but I'm not. You know, I understand the theory behind electricity, but again, in terms of wiring up an entire house and running the HVAC and making sure we have, you know, everything powered and everything's running efficiently, I want to make sure I understand that process. So those questions, curiosity.
Doesn't that, I'm sorry, because I feel that way, and I want to ask you this. Doesn't that make your job much more enjoyable when you're curious?
It does, yeah. And most people want to tell you about it. If you, I mean, the guy that's sitting there doing the work, if you come across as genuine and like, look, I truly want to know, a lot of times, unless they're just a jerk, they really want to tell you. You know what I mean? They're like, yeah, they like the communication, they like the conversation, they like the company, and it's like, yeah, and you're like, oh, okay, I see that, and then you start tying it all together, and then the next time when another guy is doing it, you learn a little bit more, a little bit more, and a little bit more.
I love that.
Yeah.
That process right there is something that I've been falling more and more in love with. So thank you for sharing that. So right now, of course, you've been around so many different businesses and so many different projects
Right.
that you probably feel comfortable with it and, secure or confident, I would say. If somebody is beginning that process or would love to do that, it's a monster. It's
Yeah.
really it's just like it's scary,
Yeah.
and especially when the market is just so up and down, more constant than ever before. What would you say, and what would be the first maybe couple of things that you would suggest somebody to get that started in the right foot?
So when I talk to people, depends on the age group. When I talk to young people, I always tell them again, my generation was driven to college, 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 college was the way to go. And now I believe trade schools have been kind of looked down upon in the past, and I think they're diamonds.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I'm thinking if you can go to school and learn a trade, and be able to whether it's doing drywall, whether it's doing, I don't know, the guy doing the lawn for you, the people doing the carpet, doing the tile, those folks. It's just. So I always say, again, get your hands dirty. I guess that would be my suggestion is get your hands dirty.
That's needed long term.
Yeah, exactly. No matter how high you get, no matter how much money you make, no matter how much anything, you can never be to the point where you don't want to get your hands dirty. I think the best leaders are the ones that don't mind rolling their sleeves up and getting their hands dirty.
I love that.
Yeah, me too.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. So, I started with an entrepreneur lifestyle in a way with my parents the first 7 years of my career. And then because business was tough, of course, this was not here. It was in a third world country. Things got difficult with the corruption and things like that. As a young person, I got scared. So I got out of entrepreneurship for about 19 years until I grew up to a point where I realized that I was just looking at one part of it and just taking maybe what you would say that trauma like it's a pattern, and it's not. It was just how things were handled at that particular time with what we had. It doesn't mean that it has to be that way. And then going to corporate world is where I started to learn, like, no, this is not me. I'm much more than this. I have my own dream. I want to follow this, and I need to go back to that. And that realization and that me not giving up on that was like almost magical in my life, because it took me to the potential that I had actually, and I was boxed for so long into somebody else's dream. You know what I'm saying? So for me to encourage the person who has the mindset of an employee, which I did too, I had both, and you did both too. It gives me the insight and the comparison. Now I can see from the outside both scenarios and kind of like pick the choice that I have, and I don't feel in prison anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I think that what you said earlier, the believing in the higher power and believing in yourself is so key. And I'm on this mission to help people to really believe that, because we all have that inside of us. We all have that power within us. But the lack of belief or the patterns or the circumstances or even the environment that we were nurtured in might not have given us that power. But we still have it. We just have to allow ourselves to open that. And when I allowed myself to, which I think that's what you did too, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're right. You're right.
Allowing yourself to do that, that's when the opportunities start showing up and you start seeing them, you start taking them, and then you just keep flying.
I agree 100%. That sounds, you said it best. That's awesome.
Thank you. So for the people who are in that situation that they're not yet maybe where you're at, but they would love to do that and they don't have the guts. They don't know how. They're stuck in the how. I'll tell you that. I was stuck in the how for like decades.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What would you leave our listeners with today?
I say look for a mentor. Look for somebody that's kind of that you kind of look up to. For you don't have to look up to them in everything, but look up to them in one or two things and talk to them. You know what I mean? They'll point you in the right direction, I think. Everyone has somebody in their life, I think, that they see and they want to emulate something that they're doing. And a lot of times it's just a conversation. And you don't have to take everything from the conversation and do everything exactly the same, but you can take something from there and be like, hey, okay, that's how you did it. Tell me about your story. You know what I mean? A lot of times one person's story can lead to, your own story. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's it.
It's incredible. The people that we're surrounding ourselves with, the people who are having conversation, what we allow ourselves to believe and feel, even on your moments that you're by yourself, you're just scrolling, what you're listening to, what you're allowing yourself to feel and believe on those things, all of that is shaping you.
It is.
It's pretty big. So once you start opening up to the opportunity of getting to know people that are ahead of you, people who have more of a vision, that's starting to give you the ability to see in a different light, in a different way, and it will open the doors for you. So I truly believe 100% in the people and the things that you let yourself influenced by. What you're reading, what you're watching, who you're with.
Exactly. I said too, what you're reading, what you're watching.
Yeah.
Because again, so often it's so easy to grab them phones and look through Instagram and Facebook and all that and see some negativity. But again, you watch negativity all the time, it's going to negatively affect you. But you can find something positive, which is a lot out there. If you look for it, the algorithm. If you start looking at positive stuff, more positive things will start coming to you.
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
I love that because I try to be intentional about that. And before, and even today, Omar, like every once in a while, because I'm on social media all the time because I'm posting all my material, and the positivity, putting it out there, trying to bring engagement and a community to move forward to the positive into a life that they love. And all of a sudden, if I'm not very aware and careful, you start scrolling and everything is just hooking. It's just hard, and then you just lose track of time.
Right.
So it's very important to be aware of that, so you're really using your time intentionally to the purpose and the person that you want to become. Or else you're just not becoming that person. You're becoming something else, and maybe that's not what you want to be.
I agree.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I want to, oh my gosh, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
There's so much more that I would like to ask you, but I know that our listeners are going to be coming back to listen to more because there's just so much inspiration, so many different people like Omar that can inspire you. So if people want to see what you're up to, are you in social media? Do you have something that you have outgoing right now? What do you have? What's going on?
Yeah. So, again, I own a restaurant here called The Good Spot. So, again, we're on social media, on Facebook, under The Good Spot Restaurant. I have that going on. I have, a couple other things going on, but primarily the restaurant is the way to reach me.
I mentioned his restaurant on season 1. I just want you all to know, if you are here in Indianapolis, you guys have to come and visit The Good Spot. It is amazing because he combines a whole bunch of different ideas into the restaurant, including games, which I'm hoping I can do that next time I go. It is very fun, and the fact that you're not in this, cutter, how do you say in English?
Cookie cutter.
Cookie cutter restaurant, which is everywhere. It's his own place that he made his own. So you're never going to find that anywhere else. And I love to do that. That's one of my missions, by the way. Everywhere I go, I want to go to the place, to the spot that is not part of anything else, and it's unique. I was just in Japan earlier this year, and that was my mission with my friends. What is the little nook? What is the little spot over here that's going to, and it was the best part of our trip.
Exactly.
Seriously. And you get to know the owner, and you have the feeling of his entire passion and soul there. So you guys have to come and see the place.
Please
all right.
do, yeah.
Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
in the show today.
Uh-huh.
If you guys are watching this, please make sure you share this episode because it might make a whole change in somebody else's life. Click the like button, subscribe, check this restaurant, and I'll see you on the next episode. This is brought by the I Am Beast Network and Andre the Beast Creighton, and our sponsors is Forever Living, the best aloe vera juice in the world, and Purium, who is the ultimate life transformation company that is changing the life with superfoods, and Through the Vine, the wine bar in Fort Lauderdale. This is Jessica Javens, and this is Jessica Javens Talk.
Baby girl, you are so pretty, 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 pretty. Baby girl, you are so pretty, 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 pretty. Females made you just touching me.